All right, should be popping up here in just a second. How's it going, everybody? This is the Osmo.com NHL Strategy Show. We've got another 9-game slate. Hopefully, your early lineups are doing well. If you played the Degen early slate, I did. I don't know, nothing looking too good, but I did see 50% owned Carter Hart. Got a win. So we'll see. We'll see if I can survive that. Hopefully, you guys did well last night. We're, as always, going to go through what happened last night in terms of the top of the leaderboard, and then we will do all the normal things, go through game by game. We will not be talking about Ottawa, Philadelphia, because that game already played. Talk about some free stuff that we have going on the site for today. Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Yeah, last night was a snooze fest. I don't know. It must have been a good choice to not watch hockey, even though I lost a good amount last night. I think I only got back about a third or so of my entry fees, so pretty brutal. Yeah, it was not good. But we did see some familiar names, maybe not at the top of the or of the best GPPs or whatever, but some of the top guys with the unique lineup constructions seemed to do pretty well. So we'll recap. Shout out to Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Even though I lost a bunch of money over on DraftKings, I think I broke even over on Yahoo. Maybe only lost a few dollars. So I've been playing this $12, and I like it. I mean, it's a flatter payout. Top three, you get $100. Only 112 entries in tonight's. So if you're trying to get in this, you probably want to get into it pretty soon. I will enter this once we're off the show. Yari, or is it Jari? Do you not just call him Jari? Yeah, he had a shutout, so it was kind of tough to have the nuts without him. I don't know if any other goalies had shutouts last night. Yeah, are we ready to sweat some empty nets tonight on Yahoo? Yeah, for sure. A little bit of extra correlation with the plus minus there. If you have guys that are on for the empty net, that's huge. Over on Yahoo, I didn't even think about that. But so here's the deal. Yahoo Daily Fantasy provides tournaments with lower management fees. That's always nice. That's going to increase your long-term ROI, help you become a profitable player if you're not one already, or help you become an even more profitable player. It's not the same volume, but you're going to get weaker competition. You're going to get, if you like not playing 150 lineups, not going up against people with 150 lineups, here you go. I mean, Yahoo has a bunch of different price points, $1, $3, $12 for NHL. NBA contest a little bit bigger, 5K to first in their baller. Look at that, 5K, 2K to second, 1K to third. Not quite a winner take all, and then you're paying about 3/4 for management fee, what you're going to pay over on DraftKings and FanDuel. And then NFL, certainly going to play some NFL contests. I like the CSV edit. Now that I've figured out playing Yahoo a bunch lately, how to actually upload my CSV correctly. So play around with that if you like doing multi-entry. I'm not sure you're going to find a better contest than the 200K baller, and you can use CSV edit. 10% management fee. So that's less than two-thirds of what you're going to pay over on DraftKings and FanDuel. So pretty cool stuff. What's up, Nihas? CBJ2 gonna light up Bob. I don't even know what CBJ2 is anymore. Like their lines get switched up so much on the lineup sites. So I don't know. You guys know which line I like probably. That's gonna be no shock. Probably the one with all the high volume shooters, right? What do we have? Yeah, Pittsburgh won. We'll talk about Pittsburgh 1 because they're back on the slate tonight, and so not to bury the lead, but you guys probably know where I'm going there. They were fine last night from attempted shots and chances created. You don't get DK points for that or Yahoo points or anything, but they were solid once again at 5-on-5, and they're gonna probably continue to do that tonight. So it's just a matter of whether or not they're finishing the goals They got one there. They didn't kill you, but Rust might have killed you at that price. I mean, 6,500, right? What do we have? Person who binked the $10 last night, single entry. Look at this. McKinnon Hattie tonight. I'm not so sure about that. Wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world, I guess. McKinnon's just a stud. So let's look at what we had here. Strome, DeBrincat, Kane, Domi, Armia. So not really the nut forwards, but Vatanen, Dahan. I mean, no one in his lineup really went nuts. It was a super, I'm assuming it's a he. It was a super low scoring slate. So you had Tristan Jarry Yari at 33.1. That was huge. Other than that, though, like his skaters were all solid. Not even really all of them, but Domi and Armia were fine. Strome, DeBrincat, Kane, like they scored 1 goal and they were on the winning lineup on a 5-game slate. Usually doesn't see that, usually don't see that, but yeah, that's what happened. I mean, it was a really, really funky, played out slate. The Czech 182. Let's look at his top lineup. It was Strome, DeBrincat, and Kane. It appears he did not get the late news with the New Jersey lines, Hall with Bratt and Zaka. Carlson, Dahan. I did like Dahan as a punt, so I think that was a pretty nice play. Koskinen. He almost got to where Jari was at, so I guess not impossible or anything to bink without Jari. Carlson does it again, just your average 16.8 DK points. Czech been crushing lately, yeah, for sure. I wonder if he did this on purpose. I guess I should give him the benefit of the doubt, whether he caught the maybe he plays NBA too, so maybe he wasn't paying attention to the lines, or maybe he just went Zaka, Bratt, and it was supposed to be like a 3-2, and Hall ended up being his 1. I think that's also a pretty reasonable explanation for why he played the New Jersey, I don't even know what you call it, line 3. I'm not sure, but ended up taking down second. Nice profit in the $10. Let's quick look at. I guess on Fridays they don't really have anything huge for high stakes. What do they have? A 180? All right, we can look at this quick. Yeah, going back to Pit 1. Yeah, I think so. CW279. Let's look at the winning lineup here. 131, man. Such a low-scoring night. McDavid, Draisaitl, Chason, power play stack, it appears, for Edmonton. That paid off pretty quickly, even though McDavid didn't do too hot. Draisaitl, Chason, I think a couple points each. Clefbaum, not even that great of a game. Osterley at 0.8%, got almost 10 DK points. So, like, you just needed to have guys in your lineup that didn't kill you in order for you to compete with tournaments. Whereas, like, all my lineups, it feels like had a 0 or, a 1.5. And even some of the top lineups, like you see here, Kessel, 4.5. Normal night, that might kill you. But it was just so low scoring that as long as you had someone that did, like, if everyone in your lineup did at least something, contributed a few shots, and you had the Chicago 2 line or the Edmonton power play stack, you were going to have a chance. All right. NBA ownership projections, I believe, are supposed to be free today. Go check those out if you have not already. And then NHL projections. Those are also free. So if you want to try us out, you want to get a peek behind the paywall, these are Alex's projections. I had a little bit of input in the model, so kind of a combination. So here's what we got. A couple of the highest projected guys. This will get updated. Actually, I forgot to update these. So it's not Rich starting, it's Talbot. So he probably won't be at quite 18 points. But normal guys at the top, Pastrnak, Kucherov. But yeah, go try these out if you want to plug them into FC. If you have FC and you wanted to see what it's like to use some of the tools for NHL Osmo Plus, here you go. Here's your chance. NHL projections are free for today. So I will update these as soon as we get off. I actually had an update queued up, but I was waiting for the game to start at 4 Eastern and forgot to update. So I'll do that really quickly, and then you guys can continue to run crunches. But pretty comfortable where I'm at as far as the crunches I'm running so far. Let's start with Colorado and Boston, we've got a 2.8 implied total for the Avs, 3.3 for the Bruins, Philip Grubauer and Yaroslav Halak in net. So, should be a pretty fun game to watch. I think I have FanDuel pricing up, DraftKings pricing. There we go. And by the way, I think I was saying I might play some FanDuel tonight too, because I think someone said Yossi's like 5,800, which is a joke. So on a normal night, I might just X out Colorado 1 if Bergeron was in here. Like, that's a really tough matchup for the McKinnon, for any line, and really tough for a line that's going to be expensive, right? In McKinnon, Rantanen, and Donskoy. Without Bergeron, though, Boston 1's not going to be the same defensively. They're not going to be bad defensively. Still, with all that being said, I don't really think I'm getting to Colorado. Like, the matchup's still tough enough for me that I'm probably not getting to Colorado 1. A little bit scary. We do have ownership out that got dropped about 20 minutes before the show, so I was trying to filter out some of these lineups that were going to be a little bit too chalky. We have McKinnon not quite at 10%, a little bit below, but like I think the stack overall is going to be relatively low owned for what Colorado is usually at, but it also is a really tough spot. No Kadri for the Avs. You could go to Landeskog with McKinnon and Rantanen if you wanted to save $100 off Donskoy. I mean, maybe they do that at pregame skate too, so maybe there's a possible edge in just getting the right combo if they do switch that up. But it would probably be Colorado 1 or nothing for me on Colorado's side, and then even with that, like it might be 0 Colorado 1 for me. It just I don't think they're that great of a play tonight. McKinnon's awesome. McKinnon sucks to fade, but like I said, I'm never really trying to fade guys on purpose. It's just if it happens, it happens, and I try to trust my numbers and stuff along the way and hope to come out on top for the season. This is one of those spots where I just think it's tough enough for McKinnon. They're getting enough ownership that I'll probably pass on them. More interested in Krejci, Marchand, and Pasternak. They're expensive. Like, Krejci is overpriced, even playing with those two guys. And if he's not going to be on the top power play, it kind of makes it tough to fit them in. But I'm still, like, that's going to be a line I force in because you look at the McKinnon, Rantanen, and Donskoy line, they got crushed a couple nights. It wasn't last night, was it? It was a couple nights ago. They got smoked at 5-on-5. Like, I think they gave up 20 plus shot attempts and got like 5 of their own. The chances were also slanted. Like, they have some games like that, and this is a really tough matchup. Hall looks not like Hall anymore. I mean, Hall scored a goal last night. Hall's going to be fine. Yeah, I saw that rumor about Hall to Colorado. I hope that's true. Because then that'd be, I mean, they're already nasty, but if they had Hall, like, boy, tough to find a better top 6 than that. So I like Boston 1 quite a bit. Shocking, I know. I mean, I always play Boston 1. But I think they're probably going to go a little bit under-owned for actually how good they are. Like, we've got Krejci really low owned in our ownership projections, and I think that's correct. I think people will play Marchand and probably more Pasternak one-offs, but I don't think the full stack is going to be very heavily owned, and I think I'm going to be pretty easily overweight on that. Whether that's me getting to 6-7% of Boston 1, I think that's going to be overweight on them, which I don't know why they wouldn't be owned here if you're just taking this game in a vacuum. Boston 2, pretty decent value, and you're not getting great depth from Colorado with no Kadri down the middle. They're pretty weak. So Coyle, Heinen, and DeBrusk could certainly go to them. I've got a couple lines that I like a little bit better in that range. So, like, I got to them some in my crunch. They're not very heavily owned, but they're also not like a priority play for me. Like, let's see where I got Coyle. Yeah, so I got them right around where they're owned, just like a few shares out of 150. Nothing crazy. Does Boston one make one lineup or more MME? They're more an MME play for me. Like if I was making one lineup tonight, I think it's possible Boston one ends up there. I don't know. I'm not just making one lineup though, but I'm trying to think if I was. Krejci at 6,700. It's tough to swallow. So I get it. I think the coach is putting first line back together. Yeah, they might be. So maybe that's a chance where you hop on and, I might go from 0 Colorado 1 to like a couple shares out of 150 if we see, like, I'm always willing to change my opinion on a line or take a line that's not in a good spot if there's like late changes, because first of all, what percent of the field's actually going to recognize those changes and adapt to them? And it still might pay off for those people who've seen that happen a bunch of times this season. But especially if it's a talented line, like incredibly talented line, like Colorado 1, and that combination is going to be, maybe 1% owned across the tournament. Okay, now you're talking about a line that maybe you get a little bit of in MME, but it still doesn't make the spot that much better, at least for me. I'm not really looking at a lot of defensemen here, like McAvoy, Krug, Girard, Cale Makar. None of them am I going to be very heavy on. It would probably just be Krug every once in a while when I'm getting to a Boston 1 stack and trying to capture some more power play correlation with Marchand and Pasternak. Penguins, Red Wings, 3.3 implied total for the Pens, 2.6 for the Red Wings. We've got Matt Murray in net here against Jonathan Bernier. Both goalies expected. Jari went last night for the Pens. Who knows what Detroit's going to do? They're garbage. So we've got Pitt 1 once again. Is that confirmed? Is what confirmed? Which one? You feel the same way about $6,500 Russ as Krejci? Russ shoots. So, for me, it's like, well, if you're playing their line mates and they're expensive and he's going to be low owned, why wouldn't you just throw in the center if you can? I get it. He's the guy you leave off if you're doing like a 3-2-1, obviously, because he's probably not the guy scoring the goals. But on bigger slates, I just value correlation, and I'll pay a little bit extra for a guy that's overpriced if I'm getting decreased ownership and running full line stacks. One thing I did want to check here, and I think Russ was on the top power play last night. Murray? I don't know. It's not confirmed yet. It's not confirmed yet. So you're probably not going to know until 6:30 Eastern for sure, but it should be a pretty easy swap if it's Jari again or whatever. Certainly could be. Who knows? All right. I wanted to check really quick before I talk about this game about there's always stuff I remember to do like right as I get on stream, which is annoying. Yeah, Rust was with Gensel, Schultz, and Letang for the 15 seconds of power play time they had last night. So I would expect that to be the case. They didn't really get a shot at it, like, or multiple power plays last night. So that's going to hurt. But I will say, so Arizona's a good team at 5-on-5. Or they've been decent. They kind of been overperforming, I think. Anyways, Pitt 1 doubled them up in shot attempts at 5-on-5. They doubled them up. I think it was 5-0 high danger chances. So, like, they just generate so many chances. They're all in the top power play together, even if they're not listed that way. At least they were last night. They were in practice a couple days ago. So I'm treating it as Rust is on the top power play. And you're paying $7K for a line that's played incredibly well at 5-on-5. It couldn't really be a better 5-on-5 spot outside of they're on the road, so they don't get the benefit of last change. But even if they go up against Larkin with Fabry on that line and no Mantha, that's a pretty big downgrade defensively for Detroit. They're not quite the same dominant line. So, that's at worst a neutral matchup, I think. yeah, I'm all over Pitt 1 once again. Just give me great lines, or lines that have played great at least. I'm not saying that Rust is going to be part of a great line, but 6,500, like people are going to look at that and be like, all right, he's overpriced. And yes, he is overpriced, but in a variance-based sport, you're betting on low event outcomes. And yeah, it's not very likely that Rust scores 2 goals here, but could he get 2 or 3 points if Pitt 1 is a huge game? That's what you're betting on, right? So value's overrated. Alex says it all the time. He's very smart at DFS. Like, people overrate value in DFS, in event-based sports, so specifically NHL and MLB, and probably in NFL, just at some standpoint. When you decide to play a second line, are you going off bad defenders in the second or third group defense of the opposing team? Yeah, that's a better way to put it, Trey. It's sport specific, I think. It's sport specific, because in NBA it's completely different, right? But where opportunity is more fixed in MLB, especially, and in NHL. When you decide to play a second line, are you going off bad defenders in the second? No, not necessarily. I mean, there's certainly bad pairings you can target, but I'm more looking at ownership. Now that we have ownership projections, and ownership projections that you're starting to trust more and more and more as we get more data. So like low owned second lines, or if you've got a scenario where like one of the top lines is going to be chalk, they're expensive, people are hammering them, and you've got a capable second line that's also on a team with a huge total. I like home ice just in general, and they're getting, let's say, a third of the ownership or a fourth of the ownership in more extreme cases. Then I'd be fine taking second lines. So, or there's games like the last 2 Montreal games, and I've been wrong on those both times, but where I'm just on like all 3 of the lines in multi-entry formats. So there might be like one main line, usually the top line, but like in MME, I have no problem playing 3 different lines from a team on a given night. I know some people are against that, but I'm really not. Like, if I like a team, I like a team. I'm not going to act like I can know exactly which line is going to do the damage for a team with a 3.5 implied total. Like, it's really tough to predict, even with matching. Okay, so Pitt 1, really, really like them. Gonna be pretty easily in double digits on them, I would imagine. We've actually got their ownership higher than I expected, to be honest. Maybe it's just the Detroit factor. So that's going to keep my exposure in check on them. Like, we've got Gensel at over 10%. We've got Malkin at almost 9%. So I thought they might go a little bit overlooked because of Rust being so cheap. Or, I'm sorry, so expensive. And hope maybe people see that he's not listed on the top power play and leave him off or whatever. I think you're going to get Rust at a nice ownership discount, which makes up for his expensive price. So I love Pitt 1, favorite play in this game by a pretty good margin. 18% and 140 lineups. That sounds pretty good to me. I don't think you need to go crazy necessarily on any line. Who would be your top 2 lines tonight? If I was making a single entry, I think Pitt 1 would certainly be in the conversation. It'd probably be between 4 or 5 lines. I think Carolina's, the Aho line would be up there. Florida 1 would be up there. Nashville 1, even though you guys don't want me to say that. Those would be the lines I'd be looking at as like my first line. And you could probably slam some of those 2 together if you wanted to punt on a couple defensemen. Tampa, yeah, of course, Tampa. You got two lines to choose from there, at least 2 lines. Pitt 2, so I mean, this is a spot where, like what I was just saying, 3.3 implied total. You've got guys that play on the power play. Nason, I don't think is actually going to be on PP1 because I think it's going to be Rust with Letang and Schultz. But regardless, you're getting a super cheap line that's had some decent results lately that's going to get a solid matchup. So perfectly fine going to them if you wanted to. as a way to get off the more popular line on the same team. Makes sense to me. Letang, 6,700. Wow. No wonder I wasn't getting to a lot of him. I like Dougie and Yossi a little bit better. And Seth Jones, I think they're all like in the same pool. So maybe this is a spot where, you pay up to be contrarian, I guess, on Letang. But I just like those guys better straight up. And I also like the power play, or like the forwards for those teams, for the guys I was talking about too. So yeah, while you like Letang, if you do something like this, you're handcuffing yourself pretty bad. And that's the scenario in which I would want him. So, see, 40, yeah, that's pretty tough to try to fill out a roster that is closer to being duped if you're 3-3 stacking. So, I'm not even getting to that much Schultz either. It's probably just going to be a lot of the even strength pit one. Okay, let's go to, on the other side, pretty obviously, the Larkin line is fine. Let's see where they're at, though. Yeah, their ownership isn't bad. Larkin's always going to be higher than the other guys, which makes sense. He's going to be the guy that people want off. I get that. I guess I'm not going to make a major stand on Detroit 1. Probably going to be somewhere in the 5 to 8% range for me. Don't think it's a great matchup. I hope they don't get matched up a lot against this line because I think they could get smoked. But if Detroit does a nice job of getting them away from the Malkin line, maybe they could, do some damage at 5-on-5, and they're fully correlated. But like, if you are Detroit, I know Blashill doesn't really know what he's doing, but if you are Detroit, like, would you rather have the Larkin line going up against Malkin or Filppula or the Nielsen line? I don't know. I mean, so I think it's more likely they're matched up here. That's why it's just a whatever spot. Let's move it on. Sharks, Lightning. We've got a 2.9 implied total for the Sharks, 3.8 for the Lightning. Marty Jones confirmed, expected to go against Vasilevsky for Tampa. Tampa's lost a few games lately that they probably shouldn't have. I don't know what to make of Tampa. In fact, what is Tampa's record? I know they kind of struggled through the first month of the season, but like, they got to be closer to 500, right? Am I just making this up? Yeah, they have 26 points. So everyone's complaining about the Leafs or whatever. They have 4 less points than the Leafs. Like, I don't know, seems bad. Or I'm sorry, not 4 less. They have 1 less. 4 less game. I'm looking at games right now, but just over a point per game played. Like, this is supposed to be a team that should hammer teams, and like, this should be a spot where they hammer teams. They're still getting a lot of respect from Vegas, right? They have these high totals. Marty Jones and Nat, like, he hasn't been that terrible. He hasn't had his Marty Jones games as often this season. The thing I'm worried about here with Tampa is just, do we see the correct lines? Or these lines that we're seeing on the screen? Do they switch something up? We don't really have word. Talked to an online friend. He said that, like, we don't really have any idea of whether or not they're going to stick with lines. And I guess we don't for any team, right, until pregame skate. But who knows? They might shake something up. So I'm certainly going to be prepared. Is Killorn, is he a game time decision again? I must have missed that because he was in last game and played. But if we do see these lines, the most likely scenario for me is that I'm over on Cirelli, Stamkos, and Johnson, and probably under, pretty decently under on Point, Kucherov, and Palat, which always worries me. I never really know what to do with the Sharks lines. It feels like I have no grasp on them when they have Marleau and Goudreau on their second and first lines. Because they're cheap, they get less ownership. So sometimes they get pushed up in my process of ranking out lineups and taking away lineups that are too chalky. I just hate the idea of playing Marleau, and I don't really love playing Goudreau, even though he's with talented players in Kane and Couture. But they're keeping these lines together, is what it sounds like, at least to start. I only got a couple shares out of both of the Sharks' top 2 lines. Once again, man, I would probably go with Meyer and Hurdle just because they're a little bit cheaper. Don't think it's a great matchup for either one. But then if you're 3-3 stacking, you have to play Marlowe. Whatever, he's 2,900. I'm not going to trash him. But I'm much, like, it's hard not to like this spot a lot better for Cirelli, Johnson Stamkos, Point Kucherov. You on Burns or EK? Not as much as I thought when I saw their pricing. Yeah, so they'll be kind of interesting to talk about too. Well, actually, let's just talk about them now. 5,700 for Burns, 49 for Carlson. They were both on the top power play at practice this morning, so you can one off either one of them. With Burns getting the upgrade, like, he hasn't played with the top guys on the power play lately. And so if you wanted to play Burns at 5,700, maybe now's a good time to jump on him. You could play him as a one-off. Like, he's still going to do the peripheral things. He hasn't been as great this year. I've preferred a bunch of other guys ahead of them, especially lately. So maybe a nice spot to jump on at a low price. And let's see where he's at. We've got him at almost 20% ownership. Like, is he still getting that? I mean, he must be getting pretty close to that if we keep projecting him like that. So you said you're playing FanDuel tonight. When I play FanDuel, it's usually 3-man even strength stacks or 4-mans. So it'll probably be a mixture of both. So I'd do like some 4-man PP stacks or even strength stacks with guys that correlate on the power play. Take the power play quarterback with that unit. So do that in some lineups, and then in some lineups I would just do 3-3s, maybe a correlated goalie, and just 2 defensemen I feel comfortable with. Whether it's the top guys, you take someone in the 4K range. There's usually a bunch of underpriced guys on FanDuel anyways. Burns was 4% on Thursday. You could bump him down manually if you wanted to do that somehow in Excel or whatever. So maybe that's what I'll do. See if I can get to a little bit of Burns. Same thing with Carlson at under 4,900. But the problem is I don't really like their forwards that much. So I'm playing a lot of Tampa too. They're going to be up there for me. I don't think they should necessarily be that much lower owned than Point and Kucherov. So that's a stand I'm willing to take. Over on Tampa 2, under on Tampa 1. Not going to be killed if Tampa 1 destroys the slate. You could always PP stack Tampa because they're awesome on the power play, and it is Marty Jones, and it is a huge total. So, I mean, you're looking at the top 6 forwards here. Hedman at 6,300, fine price. He's playing huge minutes. He's not a priority in the same way that like Hamilton and Yossi are and Seth Jones for me tonight. But if he was your highest owned defenseman and you love Tampa, then that makes a lot of sense because he correlates to both of the top 2 lines. All right, let's move it to Columbus and Florida. We've got a 2.9 implied total for the Blue Jackets, 3.6 for the Panthers. Jonas Korpisalo and Sergei Bobrovsky in net. Bobrovsky confirmed. Korpisalo not yet confirmed. Let's see, was that? Man, I can't remember when Columbus played last. Was it 2 games ago or was it 2 days ago or last night? It was two games ago. Okay, it was the Rangers game, right? That was when. Okay, so a couple things. Nyquist moved down to the 3rd line mid-game. So you see that here. These are the lines that were reflected about midway through the game against the Rangers. Jenner Bjorkstrand stayed together. Anderson flopped with, there was some 3-way flipping around with Anderson, Nyquist, and Buffalino. Anyways, I think these are the lines we're going to see at least to start. This line's been really good. Jenner and Bjorkstrand, really high event. Now you get Anderson at 3,300. I mean, they're just a pretty obvious value. and maybe not that obvious actually, because looking at what we have for ownership on them, where yeah, like we have them at like 5%. I think that's pretty crazy. Good price. Guys that all shoot the puck: Jenner, Bjorkstrand, Anderson. I mean, Bjorkstrand was close like 7 or 8 times to scoring, it feels like, again, in that Rangers game. Florida not as soft as the Rangers defensively, but if you go up against Barkov, that's not the end of the world. I mean, they're still giving up about 12 high danger chances against per 60 at 5-on-5. A little bit better at home. But, it's not the worst matchup in the world for Jenner and Bjorkstrand and Anderson. You get 2 guys on the top power play. You can pair them with Seth Jones. Florida's had issues with their goaltending this whole season. I like it. That's the line I like. You've also got Texier with Nyquist and Atkinson. Not really too keen on that line tonight. So there's really one line I'm keying in on for Columbus. On the Florida side, you've got Florida 1, who's cheap. To be honest, I thought they would be the highest owned line on the slate on our ownership projections. And right now, we've got Point Kucherov a little bit higher. I like Florida 1 better. And so, Florida 1 probably going to be my highest exposed line in MME. You're going to have to get a little bit creative with what you do with the rest of your lineup, but I absolutely love the spot at 5-on-5. Huge total. Like, this line's good. They're fully correlated. There's a clear defenseman to pair with them in Yandel. Yandel's going to skate a lot with them at 5-on-5, so I'm not going to hate on Yandel tonight. I'm playing some of him. Probably will get to double digits for me. So enjoy your 3 DK points from Keith Yandel. At 4,800, I will certainly be eating that. I just love Florida 1. It feels like we have these spots like once every couple weeks where Florida 1 is just like 1,000 underpriced, 2,000 underpriced, somewhere in there as a full line. And they're usually really chalky when that happens. We don't project them to be that chalky, though. And we don't project anyone to be really left off because, Dadonov's probably the guy that people leave off. But he's on the power play with them. He skates at 5-on-5. Yeah, he's moved down a couple times in game, but that's not really something that I can predict. So at worst case, he's on the top power play with them. If he, for whatever reason, got moved down in the middle of the game. Now, Trocheck with Hoffman and Connolly is also a pretty interesting line as well. So this is one of the games where I'm on both lines, but right now what I've got is, let me see, make sure I'm telling the truth here. Right now I've got about, is this correct? We've got, they're almost as owned right now, Florida 1 and Florida 2. So I get maybe the price, and people are excited about Hoffman moving up. So that makes some sense, but I really prefer Florida 1 if I had to choose just one, and I'll figure out the rest after that. So 3 lines that are really hard not to like here, in my opinion: the Jenner line for Columbus, Florida 1. I think those 2 lines would both, if I was making one lineup, I think those would both be in the conversation. Looking at the ownership for Florida 2, yeah, they're a good play. I don't know if they should be close to the same percentage of ownership as Florida 1. That's just my personal thoughts. My exposures will be reflected. Right now I've got about 3 times the Florida 1 as I do Florida 2. And I have a decent amount of Florida 2. So, like I said, Florida 1 probably my highest owned line on the slate, if not, top 2 or third at worst. But if you guys ever look at my exposures on lineup study, there's usually a couple lines that get close to 20% or a couple that get over when I'm 150 maxing on these 8 to 12 game slates. Florida won right now. If the slate started right now, they would be the only line I have at over 20%. Ryan Murray, pretty good punt at 3,400. You can play Savard at 28. I know people have played Strawman lately. I don't think I'm including him tonight. It's mostly just Yandel, and that's really about it. So fun game I will be heavily invested in. Let's go to the Wild and the Hurricanes. We got a 2.3 implied total for Minnesota, 3.2 for the Canes. Alex Stalock going for the Wild. Peter Mrazek expected to go for the Canes in the Nino Niederreiter revenge game here. It's the Bobrovsky revenge game. Yeah, good point. So a bunch of revenge here. 40 lineups. How many would be good for Florida 1? I don't know. I mean, that all depends on you, right? 40 lineups. What would be 20% of that be? I mean, that's about where I'm at. So that'd be 8 lineups if my math is correct. Somewhere in 8 to 10 lineups, maybe. I think. You can do more if you want. It just depends on your play style. I'm not saying my play style is how you have to play. It is a little bit different running 40 or 20 lineups compared to 150, though, I think. You can obviously take more shots playing these garbage third lines that might score 2 goals every once in a while. Brad Richardson comes to mind back in the day. I mean, we almost won the other night with freaking, what's his name? Wagner from LA scoring just a fluky goal. So why are you on Douglas so much tonight? Dougie Hamilton, Niehaus? Come on, man. I mean, well, okay, he's expensive, I get that, but it'll make sense. I mean, maybe you'll just say I'm a donkey and I shouldn't play $7,300 Dougie Hamilton. That's also fair, probably. So here's what we got here. Sell me on McKinnon. I can't, Boom. I cannot sell you on McKinnon. I'm probably not going to be there tonight. So it's all the McKinnon money, Colorado 1 money. That's probably all going to be yours unless we see something weird on in pregame skate or Landeskog's moved up there, and maybe then I'll take a couple shots out of 150. But I think it's a tough matchup, Boom. So sorry to rain on your parade, but you're going to play 100% of him anyway, so who cares? All right. So what we got in this game, again, no Koivu for the Wild. We have Victor Rask, I guess, slotting in with Parise and Fiala. There's no Bergeron against Colorado. So, I mean, there's a reason to play Colorado 1, but I just still don't have it being that great of a spot, even without Bergeron. So, I don't know. I don't think anybody's dumb for playing Colorado 1. If you're talking about tournaments, they're crazy good. Okay. They were mad at Cunnin, I guess. Just looking at some of the beat writers. So I thought we might get Cunnin with Parise and Fiala. That would have been a line maybe I take some stabs at. But with these lines, I'm just generally lower, it feels like, on Stahl, Zucker, and Zuccarello than what we get on them for ownership projections. They're always cheap in like these kind of below average spots. I mean, is the spot against the Stahl, Svechnikov, Fogle line any good? I don't think so. Is it any good if they go up against Aho, Niederreiter, and Teravainen? I don't think so. And so kind of off Minnesota altogether. And shocking on Carolina here. Carolina's another line that I think I would consider with one lineup. Right now I'm about double the field as far as where we have them. It's not about the Niederreiter revenge game. It's that you're getting a line that's historically been very impressive at even strength. And I think a quality matchup against, I think for the most part, they go up against Rask, Parise, and Fiala. They're going to go up against probably the top 3 lines at some point for Minnesota. I think Carolina, if I was Carolina, you're probably trying to match Stahl against Stahl, Zucker, and Zuccarello. There you go. Another narrative there, brother versus brother. I like Jordan's line better, though. Just the top 6 here for Carolina. I know it's only a 3.2 implied total. And that kind of makes me like it a little bit more. So Nino is the only guy that's like obviously cheap that's going to get played a lot. And you've got overpriced Dougie, priced in the John Carlson tier by himself. But I like defenseman against Minnesota. I like pairing him with Aho, Teravainen, and Niederreiter. I think with Koivu out, that's a bump down to Minnesota's defense. Rask being your second line center is kind of brutal. And like I said, this line just generates so much at 5-on-5. So they look under-owned to me. Like I said, right now I'm about double the field. Their price is good as well when you include Niederreiter. So yeah, I really like Carolina. To the Aho line, I also have about 2 times of the Stahl line as well. So this game's going to be a lot about Stahl, Svechnikov, and Foegele. I'm including Foegele because I'm running 3-3s tonight. Are you saying you like stacking defensemen against Minnesota? Certain guys. I mean, I'll play high volume defensemen at lowish ownership against pretty much any team. I know actually some people were sharing in Slack. I think Bots and Boom maybe were sharing that they use like defense versus position, and like Minnesota's allowing the most DK points or whatever to defensemen this year. That's not really why. It's just good total. Dougie is the clear guy to pair with the Aho line for me, and then he's a little bit overpriced for sure, but I like taking advantage of that and playing these high volume guys. I think he's got a chance at 20 DraftKings points, and play him with the stack. That's how I'm thinking about it. Oh, I mean Nihas. I don't know if it's I try to stay away from like acting like I know the schemes in the NHL, like, you know, which teams allow more slot shots or whatever like that. And I'm just looking at like the raw data. Like I don't pretend to know as much about like the actual game. I just want to see good players play and do well for my fantasy teams, and hopefully your guys' as well. If Dougie's on the slate, I lock Dougie. There you go, Josh. Maybe you shouldn't lock him, but yeah, Dougie is right up there with Yossi for my favorite guy tonight. So those are going to be very likely my 2 highest owned defensemen. Jones, Seth Jones is probably going to come in third there, and then everyone else, mostly just sprinklings. But if you lose, like I like using like last 10 or last 20 in terms of like shot attempts to see, you know, is a guy all of a sudden attempting more shots recently, and I factor that in and weight those guys up a little bit more. So that's why Dougie's getting pushed up a little bit for me. On the other side, I would say Dumba. He's 4,800. He's going to get an increased role with no Spurgeon for a while. Brodin punt worked out last time. He's up to 2,800. I still think those are probably the 2 guys you're keying on if you're looking for a Minnesota defenseman. Maybe a spot where you could see the block shot bonus with Dumba 5 shots on goal. I mean, maybe this is a spot where he finally does that. He hasn't been great this season, though. And I've been playing a lot, so I've been paying for it. I don't think you need to like get off of him, though, if you've been on him. Pesci, 3,500. I got to some of Pesci. I got to a couple Gardner shares. But I kind of like Slavin the best at 42 skating with Dougie. I don't think you necessarily need to play them in the same lineup, but Slavin at 4,200 is a guy I'll play. My Discord just started working. Well, we have Slack. Boom. You have Slack. You can go and talk in Slack. All right, let's move it on. All Carolina for that game. Pretty much nothing that I'm going to be heavy on on the Minnesota side, unless something really weird changes between now and lock. Toronto, St. Louis, another 7 p.m. game. Jeez. Freddie Anderson, Jordan Binnington, and net 3 implied total for the Leafs, 3 as well for the Blues. We have Pontus Aberg making his Leafs debut tonight, expected to be on Matthews and Nylander's line. pretty enviable spot. Boy, this one, I hope this game stays pretty quiet. I'm not confident that happens, but I'm gonna be pretty low on this game. It appears the one line I might get near the field or closer to the field of is on, or maybe actually right now a little bit above the field, the O'Reilly line. O'Reilly, Perron, and Sanford. You look at their numbers. It's weird because they're not allowing a lot of shot attempts necessarily, but their high danger chances aren't anything you need to avoid. Maybe that's a little bit fluky. I'm not exactly sure. But that's just one thing I noticed when I looked at their numbers. I think they're going to be matched up probably against the Matthews-Nylander line, but now you've got Tavares and Marner in the same line too. So I can't say I'm 100% sure about where they're going to match, if they're going to match, but it's going to be top 6 versus top 6 for the most part. Don't really love Walker on the top line for the Shen Schwartz line, but I think that's going to draw some ownership to people. They're just always excited about the new toy. He's been on there for a couple games. Not my favorite line, talking about the Shen line. And then I don't really have much on the Toronto side here. I know the Blues, like, they've been overperforming in terms of like win-losses compared to what their actual team numbers are. But still, you're getting a discount on Tavares and Marner, but not necessarily on Matthews. I don't know how Aberg is going to slot in there. Like, I don't really know how that's going to affect them, but I think that might be popular $2,500 guy playing with Matthews. I mean, sure, you can always take a stab there, but I'm more likely I'm in the wait and see mode as far as Aberg there. He's $2,500 playing with Matthews. That's the thoughts on Aberg. If you need a guy, if you're going 3-2-1, I mean, he's probably going to grade out as the best guy there, right? But don't think it's a great spot, even though I've been kind of low on St. Louis this season. So I'm hoping this one stays under control. I'm not confident about that. This game certainly could burn me. Like I said, I think the line that I get to the most is probably O'Reilly, Perron, and Sanford, but I would rather just have a 2-1 game, low event, more playoff style, hopefully. Done for 3,200 with a 15 individual course of 4 per 60 is nice. Yeah, that's fine. But is he playing minutes? That's the only thing. That's the thing I hate about Dunn. Like, a per 60 player, he's fine. Played 17 minutes last game, under 14 the game before. Dunn's like I said, good per 60 player, not necessarily great for DFS unless you can project him to play on the top 4 pairing or project him for around 20 minutes. And that's not really the case when they have these 4 guys all healthy. Okay. Devils, Preds, 2.4 implied total for the Devils, 3.6 for the Preds. Louis Domingue and Pecorine in net. Taylor Hall, I guess, playing for the Devils. So there's a report that the deal to Colorado is done, or it's close to being done. Who knows if that's true, to be honest. I don't know. I hope it's true. But anyways, I'm not going to be heavy on the Devils. Anyways, if I was going to a line, it would very, very clearly be the top one. Hughes, Hall, Palmieri actually hasn't been too bad at 5-on-5, whereas with Hischier, I don't know. The numbers just aren't good. So no Hischier last night. I don't know if he's going to be back. If he is, that could mess things up. He could go back on the top line with Hall and Palmieri. Devils lost again last night. Granted, it was in OT. They're garbage, and they're probably going to lose their best player now in a couple days or a couple weeks, however long it takes for him to get traded. Johansson, Forsberg, Yarncroc. I mean, here's a pretty good optimizer play, I guess. They're not getting as much ownership as I thought. Like, when I saw the total, just look at the total compared to like the prices for the top 6. and you're like, all right, something's got to be popular here. Nashville 1 is decently popular. You're probably going to get lower ownership on Yarncroc. And then I doubt people play Turris and like Carr. So the most appealing thing here for me is Johansson, Forsberg, and Duchesne. So I'm contemplating just putting Duchesne on top line, crossing out Turris, and like just saying, all right, if I'm playing Nashville, it's either line 1 or line 3. Or I should say line 1, meaning it would be Forsberg, Johansson, and Duchesne. So power play 1, forward stack, add in Yossi, and just capture the power play. Plus Johansson and Forsberg at 5-on-5. Duchesne's a good player. He's 5K. So that might actually be what I end up doing with all my Nashville lineups. Nothing restricting me from getting off of Nashville here. I thought it would be the ownership, and I can definitely get behind Nashville for these ownerships here. I mean, like I said, Yarncroc about half the ownership of Forsberg. Certainly can make that happen, or you can just go with Duchesne instead. So either way, I think that's a solid play. Nashville is going to be Nashville 1, whatever way I end up playing it, whether it's with Duchesne or Yarncroc. I mean, if you want to just at me in Slack before the slate starts, I can just tell you guys what I'm doing as far as whether I'm playing Duchesne there, because I actually don't know right now. But I will have a lot of Johansson, Forsberg, and then some winger, whether it's these two guys, and then a ton of Yossi. Favorite defenseman on the slate, you've heard me say that recently. We've got him at about 15% ownership. I think he should be the highest owned defenseman on the slate. Maybe he comes in as the highest, but you might see Burns and Carlson get up there. Gio is going to be up there. Letang's going to be popular. I prefer Yossi above all those guys, above everyone tonight. Minutes machine, shot machine, gets blocks, top power play. He's amazing. Ellis at 5,600 is a guy that I'll one-off in a few spots. Yeah. Jake, got to pair Yossi up with some Preds? Not necessarily. I think you can play Yossi as a one-off. All right. Let's go to the next game because I don't think we're talking about anything for the Devils side here. Isles, Stars, 2.4 implied total for the Isles, 2.8 for the Stars. Semyon Varlamov and Ben Bishop expected to go. This is a 5 total game, which is wild. All right. Radulov back in the lineup after the healthy scratch with Hintz and Pavelski. Boy, these are, once again, some real ugly lines for the Islanders. Hard for me to play anything on the Islanders here with any sort of regularity. And then on the Dallas side, you've got Sagan, Ben, and Janmark. Now, we've seen Janmark be up there a ton of times, and it seems like he gets kicked off every game. Like this feels like this has happened for 5 years straight, where you've got Janmark with Sagan and Ben for min salary. Is he going to be on the top power play? I don't even know if that's true. So what I think you could do is with your Dallas stacks, if you want to do 3-3 stacks, just put all these guys on the same line, Hintz, Radulov, Pavelski, Sagan, Ben, so that you're just getting in some correlation. You're going to end up with Hintz in all of your lineups if you do that on FC, but I actually kind of like that. Just he's the best guy that's listed as a center on Dallas. And that way you don't, like if you go 3-man stacks, you're going to be left out of Dallas 1. So what you could do is Sagan, Ben, or you can put all these guys as line 1 assignment. And if Dallas does score a bunch of goals, good chance you capture a lot of them and probably end up with a unique lineup. And you've got some value on Klingberg. Isles, I think, are an overrated defensive team. I don't think any of these lines are going to be very strong defensively if they even stick together for the Islanders. Like we've seen Barzell, line struggle. We've seen the Nelson line struggle defensively. It's just not great. So I always look to attack them, but with Sagan not being listed as center, it makes it tough. So that's why I think I'm going to end up compromising and just go with Hintz, Radulov, Pavelski, Sagan, Ben as my Dallas forwards. Pick 3 of them. You're going to get Hintz every time. So I have no problem like even going Hintz with Sagan and Ben. Or you go Hintz with Radulov and Ben. I prefer both these guys over Pavelski. That's a crazy price for Jamie Benn at 4,900. Both Klingberg and Heiskanen are guys I like. Heiskanen more of a one-off target for me because he doesn't correlate that well for what I'm trying to do. I like Klingberg if you're playing Dallas. I guess you can go Heiskanen with Hintz and Pavelski, especially if you're stacking up that even strength line, $4,500. Second PP, but I like both guys. I think they're both perfectly fine here. Heiskanen playing a lot of minutes lately. Guy's a stud. All right, let's move it on. Last game of the night, and then we will get out of here. I'm running behind here, so my bad on that. Kings, Flames, 2.3 implied total for the Kings, 3.2 implied for the Flames. Oh, by the way, I see a bunch of you watching here. Thank you for watching as always. If you guys could hit the like button, that really does help out the channel, helps me out, makes me look good for the people that sign my check. And then, it helps us out a lot, helps us continue to do this for free. So thank you. Campbell, I think it's going to be against Cam Talbot. Amadio with the big goal last night. Yeah, I wish they would leave him up with Carter and Toffoli. But what do I know? Speaking of ugly lines, my God. Lindholm, Kachuk, Mangiapane, Backlund with Monahan and Dylan Dubé. I like the top line for the Flames, but to be honest, like I guess that's the line where there's not one or two guys that I just don't want to play. Like I'm fine playing Mangiapane for 3K. I don't even really know how the line matching is going to go here, but I don't know that it even matters that much. The lines stink, just plain and simple, for Calgary. So I'm kind of just picking one that I want to play the most of, and that is Lindholm, Kachuk, and Mangiapane, and I'm just stacking up the full line. Man, the ownership on Calgary 2 is so low. Is that correct? It's not that low, actually. On Dubé. Am I saying his name right? I think I'm saying his name right. Doesn't matter. Calgary 1's getting the most ownership as well. So, I guess I'm stating the obvious there, and that's the line I want to play the most. It appears everyone wants to play that line the most. They're playing Calgary. It is a whatever play for me. It's not one that I'm pumped to play Calgary. I don't think I've been pumped to play Calgary like the whole season, but I do like Giordano at 6K. And then as far as the King side, I want to say Kopitar, Iafallo, and Brown would be my favorite stack, but like scrolling through here, let's see. Okay, I got to 2% of Kopitar, Iafallo, Brown. So there you go. I guess right now that's overweight. I'm fine if I get to 2% of them. It would take me a lot of lineups to get to the Kopitar line. So don't Doughty and Kachuk have beef or something? By the way, now that I think of that, who cares? It doesn't matter for this game. Gaudreau with Ryan and Milan Lucic. I think the best way to play Gaudreau would just be the power play stack Calgary with Lindholm, Kachuk, Monahan, some sort of combo like that. I think that'd be the way to go. Not necessarily playing Gaudreau with Lucic and Derek Ryan. That seems not great. All right, let's get out of here. Thank you guys for watching. Go check out Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. They've got some big NFL contests going on tomorrow. Again, lower management fees than you're going to see on FanDuel and DraftKings. Pretty big prizes too. NBA, if you guys like NBA, this tournament fills up quick because it is softer than what you're going to see on other sites. Again, lower management fees. And then NHL, this one I've liked playing a lot, so I need to go enter this. Looks like it's going to fill early, which is great news. Got to go support Yahoo DFS Fantasy, and when you do, use promo code OSMO to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. All right, projections for NBA main slate ownership projections, I believe, are supposed to be free, or maybe those get unlocked during live before lock. That could be why they're not free yet, but go check those out. NHL projections, point projections are free for today. I will update those as soon as I get off of here. So you get the updated goalies and all that. And yeah, go check out all the content on the site. We've got a bunch of NFL shows tomorrow, so go support those guys. And we've got the cheat sheets out. Those are free every day from myself using Alex's projections and my own kind of guys that I like in there. And yeah, okay, so they're getting unlocked if you hit the like. Very nice. Yeah, thanks for joining, everybody. And good luck tonight. We will be back, Slim Cliffy and myself, on Monday.